to all. On behalf of United Nations Development Programme, I welcome all to the virtual first anniversary celebrations of Accelerator Lab in India. A special welcome for our keynote speaker, Professor K. Vijayaraghavan, Principal Scientific Advisor, Government of India. We now begin the celebrations with a short video, Doing Development Differently. Can we have the video, please?
Hello, we are the UNDP Accelerator Lab India team. I am Rosita Singh, Head of Solutions Mapping.
I'm Sweta Koluri, Head of Experimentation.
I am Krishnan Srinivas Raghavan, Head of Exploration.
It's been 1 year of doing development differently. Globally, the Accelerator Lab network was launched by UNDP in 2019 with over 60 labs serving 78 countries.
The founding partners of the Accelerator Lab are the Qatar Fund for Development and the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development of Germany.
It is now expanding to 90 labs covering 114 countries by the end of 2020. The network taps into local innovations to create actionable insights and reimagine development for the 21st century.
At policy level, the aim is to scale up. We do so by working with government stakeholders like Ministry of Science and Technology, Niti Aayog, and policy think tanks for building a conducive ecosystem and policy advocacy that encourages innovations.
At institutional level, the aim is to scale deep. We work with state and local governments for institutionalizing grassroots innovations. We have set up a grassroots innovation cell in Telangana, anchored within the state government's innovation ecosystem in partnership with Grassroots Innovation Augmentation Network.
At technology level, our aim is to scale out. We are actively applying the power of emerging technologies such as blockchain, artificial intelligence, and Internet of Things to development challenges in India. For instance, we have developed an artificial intelligence platform using geospatial data to help the regulators monitor air pollution from brick kiln industry in northern India.
We are working with startups who won our innovation challenge to tackle air pollution.
We are leveraging IoT for efficient water conservation in agriculture in the state of Tamil Nadu.
We are also developing a national level blockchain platform for Indian spices.
Even during the pandemic, we continued to innovate by launching an innovative game called Corona Champions, designed to bust myths and spread awareness related to COVID-19.
Now let's hear from our partners on this incredible journey.
So the team we've been working with have been efficient,
exceptional, fantastic,
something very creative,
very high levels of professionalism.
The journey has been really amazing for our growth.
A happy birthday, 1 year completed, and what a successful year that's been.
Many congratulations to the UNDP Accelerator Labs team.
It is a very remarkable achievement to spend the first 1 year with so much of encouraging and positive results.
The support that we have received has been tremendous, and we wish all the best to the entire Accelerator Labs team.
I would like to wish Acceleration Lab UNDP India office a great time in future.
I can't imagine my journey without the help of Accelerator Labs in the last 1 year, and we are very excited to continue with them on certain pilots. So I would say congratulations and keep on doing the good work.
May I request Ms. Shoko Noda, Resident Representative UNDP India, to deliver the welcome address and also share her reflections on Accelerator Lab's 1 year journey. I would also request her to introduce the distinguished keynote speaker, Professor K. Vijayaraghavan.
Thank you very much. Professor Vijayaraghavan, Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India. Ms. Christiane Hieronymus, Minister and Head of Economic Cooperation and Development, Embassy of Federal Republic of Germany. Germany is the founding partner of Accelerator Lab globally, so we are very grateful for Germany's support. Of course, Professor Neil Gupta, it's been a while. He's a founder of Honeybee Network and Jian. Dear innovators, dear colleagues, dear friends, I'm very, very pleased and happy to welcome you all to UNDP India Accelerator Lab's anniversary. This Accelerator Lab in India has just really now turned 1 year old today. So it's a kind of birthday party that we are having. All the participants from government, private sector, academia, civil society, and especially young innovators who continuously inspire us. We are happy to have you here, and without your support, we have not come this far. So thank you very much for joining us. I still remember when the India Accelerator Lab was officially launched, exactly a year ago, in November 2019, with a very lively vibration around the in that room, and the event was called Date for Development. And we brought a lot of young innovators who participated from all over the country. The launch is really still fresh in our memories, and I myself was personally inspired by that very young, vibrant innovation community in India. There's a sense of something different, something exciting, something new, sense of hope were all felt there. And a year later, those senses have grown even stronger. So indeed, the experience has been an exciting one. I have been with UNDP for 22 years, so maybe becoming a bit of a dinosaur. And this lab initiative is quite revolutionary in the way that we address the very fast-pacing development challenges. The way we address is something very new, very different from what I have seen for the past 20 years. The lab is within UNDP, all here together with us today. We have already heard it operates at 3 levels: policy level, institution, and technology. So at the policy level, we work very closely with Niti Aayog, policy think tanks, Ministry of Science and Technology, and Agni for building a conducive ecosystem that encourages innovations. At the institutional level, we're working to foster a culture of innovation within central, but also state governments. For example, in Telangana, together with Professor Gupta's organization, Jian, we have set up a grassroots innovation cell anchored within the state government innovation ecosystem. At the technology level, which is to kind of scaling out and impacting greater numbers, we are leveraging the power of new and emerging technologies such as blockchain, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, for addressing complex, fast evolving and pressing development challenges that Sweta just mentioned. For example, this Geo AI platform using satellite image and artificial intelligence to identify more than 37,000 hotspots of air pollution in North India. This is something that I don't think we would have even thought of doing without Accelerator Lab colleagues. So they really, it's a good example of how they bring new ideas on this and onto our table and create new also partnership. So blockchain platform for Indian spices is another very exciting initiative. I think Krishna has already spoken a little bit. That this platform will improve traceability and quality assurance of Indian spices, thereby improving exports. It contributes to doubling the income of small farmers. We are partnering farmer producer organizations, Spices Board and Ministry of Commerce to implement this platform. So stay tuned for the new development. We'll keep you updated. Okay, in these times, no story is complete without discussing COVID-19. So one of the important innovations of India accelerated COVID and spread awareness through the series of digital games called. You have played this game. It's a very short game. Please do so. We designated this in partnership with IPE Global Center for Knowledge and Development, and the games have been played more than 30,000 times in India alone in a short span of time. This India game is inspired several countries from Accelerator Lab network, including Morocco, Cape Verde, Timor-Leste. And they translated the game into their language, Arabic, French, and Tetum and Portuguese. India has a rich innovation experience which needs to be shared with countries of Global South. So India's Accelerator Lab activities actively shares India's rich innovation experience on global learning network and brings back learnings from other countries to India. So we are truly blessed to be part of India's vibrant innovation ecosystem and share the best practices with the world, and we'll continue to do so. So Accelerator Lab is full of unique and new ideas, new expertise in UNDP, and they are extremely motivated, reach out to unconventional partners. So it's absolute fun to work with them. And I'm sure that you share the same feeling. I think we also heard from the video that all partners are quite excited to work with us. And all the work I mentioned here would not have been possible without partnership with you all. And I really would like to stress this point once again. So thank you very, very much for your collaboration. And I really would like to once again count on you for your continuous support and partnership. And let's make innovation like our, how do you say, the daily development practice. So thanks again. And with this reflection on the journey of India Accelerator Lab, I would like to invite our guest of honor, Professor K. Vijay Raghavan, Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India, to share your vast experience on advancing innovations for social and environmental good. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Shoko Noda. This is a very valuable introduction you gave, which tells us about how UNDP Accelerator Lab has been functioning for the last year. This is really incredible. And I'd like to first of all start by congratulating the team, Mr. Krishnan Raghavan, Ms. Rosita Singh, Ms. Shweta Kaluri, and my colleague and friend, Dr. Anil Gupta, for all of what he has taken up. You have taken up important challenges in multiple areas, and I'm really impressed by the breadth of what has been taken up. They cover geospatial technology, AI, mobile tech, blockchain platforms for transparency in the agricultural value chain, efficient water use and conservation in agriculture, importantly, promoting innovation in sectors such as in air pollution, in carbon cutter technologies, green solutions, and agri-burning, and so on. You've also taken up in the time of the COVID-19 pandemic, important areas related to the pandemic and the disease itself. So these are all incredibly important. And again, congratulations to you. Let me address very briefly what I think are the issues which come up in the light of these kinds of areas. First of all, as I said, these are all, and these situations arise from our prioritization of different levels of high quality, low cost, deep tech consumption. At the start of the Industrial Revolution, such consumption was a property of industrializing societies in the West. But over time, this has spread all over the world, creating not only a global demand for natural resources and environmental costs concomitantly, but also resulting in a creation of elites distant from those who are otherwise in very, very difficult situations. So development has then taken a frontline agenda, and the UNDP has been at the front of it. But on the ground, over the past several decades, development has meant the lifting of economic standards and health parameters, but not necessarily concomitant with quality of life as well as parameters relating to other areas of one health, the health of other life on the planet and of the planet itself. So today, in other words, we need to move from a mere quantitative view of what development means and move to a more qualitative context. In that situation, I would like to stress it is not feasible nor is it desirable to hark back to some kind of a defined pristine era in the past and then say we need to go back to that stage. That is neither, it's not meaningful at all. That's not the way one needs to look at it. But one needs to look forward and see what is the kind of world we want in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and imagine that in a doable manner. But at the heart of that world which we imagine should be primarily the quality of life, including the basic needs of the poorest of the poor. All too often, elites, both in developing and low middle income countries, as well as in the rich countries, imagine that they have a role to tell people what they need and what is good for them and what they should do. This results in two kinds of problems. First, it results in a situation where at one level, elites have been steadily using the environment and workforce to become elites. There are many good sides to that. There are many damaging sides to that. That's a different debate. But the idea that somehow, they have to tell others how to do things is secondly, emotionally and morally somewhat insulting. It insults the intelligence of those we are discussing, and therefore they need to be partners and indeed leaders in the change which we're looking at. And that is a challenge. The reason I bring this up is all too often we look at disparities as something which need to be corrected by telling those at the lower end of the disparity that they must look after their health, or they should be helped in looking after their health, their agriculture, their education, and then should have other aspirations which the elite have. Looking ahead in the future, our aspirations for all humanity should be of three kinds. That everyone, whether they are rich or poor, should of course have access to quality education, food, health, and also an environment where equality of opportunity is there. In other words, even if you are a very poor young girl in Kanyakumari or Chhattisgarh or the Congo, you have the right to aspire to become an astronomer, an astronaut, or a condensed matter physicist, or an algebraic geometer. These kinds of areas of work are not limited to those societies which are wealthy. If we keep the focus on the equality of opportunity and quality of life, then we will be forced to address the equality of access to learning and knowledge. That needs to be done in today's digital world, both by contact teaching, but also teaching which combines a bilingual approach in your mother tongue, in your native language, and in English, which is a language of international communication. The power of abstraction, which comes from understanding complexity in your own language, cannot be replaced, number one, by learning abstraction and other concepts in other languages. But more fundamentally, it results in an elitism. Those of us who can speak English perpetuate that amongst our children and become an elite, and others who cannot have access to English or have to get it later on in life in a surrogate manner, they are deprived. So at the heart of all our development projects, all of what you do is this communication and the leadership of others. Just as we demand today that in panels and in discussions, there should be increasing presence of women, and women in leadership roles means that 50% of our society will get their rights in other aspects. Similarly, we must simultaneously have people who are from the future, those who will guide our future and who are currently disadvantaged in our panels and in our discussion groups, and this needs to be done. So we should really have a situation where expertise is not given as an excuse to perpetuate disparity and to tell others what to do. And all of us, even those amongst our elites, have seen this kind of consequence of discrimination on the grounds of supposed expertise. Each one of us, while we oppress others, have also been oppressed in other ways by elites of another kind. So this is not, away from our experience, and therefore this must be changed. Once these foundational issues are addressed and changed, then the programs which you've so nicely taken up will have dramatic impact. You've built up a very good foundation of interactions, communities, and their network, and that's very useful. That is the foundation now which allows exponential growth, and inclusiveness in leadership in these programs will make them transformative. There's another kind of inclusiveness which is needed, which is you are working very well, and I see that with ministries, other organizations on these common programs. The other side, though, I see is that many organizations do address these kinds of issues. You, I can see, are addressing it, 100 times better than many other structures. But there's a danger, which I see prevalent in organizations which address these kinds of issues, is that they conflate the statement of the importance of the problem with the importance of there being the solution. In other words, for example, malaria is an important problem to address, but if I have to address the solution to malaria being a problem, I have to make a case for it and not just say that malaria is important, so I am addressing it, so I'm doing something important. The reason why this is necessary is suboptimal attack on big problems is not useful. It's very useful as a salve to our conscience, but it doesn't solve the problem. And therefore, the training and the experience which you so nicely get in addressing these complex problems is important, of course, because it gives you domain expertise, but that should immediately be matched by collaboration so that we have an impact on our problem. So I'll end by saying how we can do this. It's all very well to say that what needs to be done. There are three pillars, in my opinion, which allow us to tackle the most complex of problems. Of course, complexity can be broken down into components and we can address that, but that's a separate matter. These three pillars are policy, regulation, and sandboxes of various kinds. When you work on the ground with partners, this is something which is invaluable learning experience. If the small efforts which structures such as you do need to have large effect, this should feed back on government policy here and everywhere in the world. And that, therefore, must be an interface which relentlessly pushes on that. That allows amplification. The second aspect in a connected world is one of regulation. Regulation is there for two kinds of reasons. One is for public safety and public good, and the other, sadly, a consequence of trade wars of various kinds. There will always be pushes and pulls saying that one kind of regulation is good and another kind is bad for these kinds of reasons. So, the ability to dissect out the complexities of regulation and decide which part is for public good and which part is a trade war, and in the trade war, which is the correct position to take from different perspectives. It's never easy. Uh, the changes in regulation are very important. Let me give you an example. If you want to reduce pollution, you need, let's say, you make a case that you need solar energy. Solar energy will reduce pollution locally, but it will have two consequences. The panels and the batteries and the cells which you import will will make you dependent on global supply chains. The environmental costs of mining and creating those panels and batteries and cells are something which you pay for in cash over here, but the consequences on the planet are long term elsewhere. Now, these are all complicated matters, but if you have cheap energy and cheap solar energy, you can, for example, with electrolysis, make hydrogen and store power, and that will result in your import bill for LPG going down, the fertilizer bills going on, and it'll be enormously valuable. So what do you do? Do you pay attention to the consequences and the benefits locally? Do you look at it globally? Do you look at it in a combination? These are the kinds of issues which will come up in terms of regulation. So it's not simple, but that needs to be done. So the first is policy, and that is linked to regulation. The third aspect is really adoption of technologies and their value, even if they're a little costlier or a little more inconvenient. And this is enormously difficult, independent of whether the new technology or the new process or the new style is something which is beneficial or not. A great African scholar on this matter, a scientist who died a little over a year ago, Celestis Juma, analyze this in terms of how technologies take time getting adopted, whether, why it takes a long time. Something, for example, or new modes of living, why they take so long. And this is true for independent of whether it is good or bad. Tobacco took a long time coming and a long time going. Coffee took an incredibly long time coming. So even these so-called minor aspects have a long adoption and discard time. So that's something to be analyzed, and to make that effective, we need sandboxes of various kinds. So while you take on these exciting projects in multiple areas, these need to be, in my view, if you can push their adoption in significantly large sites, which are township level, so that they become areas where one can use and check and see how they can feed back to policy and regulation. For that to be significant, we have, I think something like 16 or 20 agroclimatic zones and, different kinds of city environments. And therefore, a judicious choice of pilots distributed with leadership from local communities can allow these sandboxes to feed back into policy and regulation. So with that, I'd like to thank you very, very much for this opportunity to me to think through these kinds of very important issues. And I wish you all the best and the Accelerator Labs another great year and many more years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Raghavan, for sharing your vision on innovation ecosystem in India. It's a privilege to learn from your vast experience. I now request you, sir, to launch the Grassroots Innovations database that has been co-developed by Gyan and UNDP India Accelerator Lab. So, sir, if you can just please give a thumbs up for the launch.
Well, not only will I give a thumbs up, but congratulations to Gyan, Professor Anil Gupta, and his team for the wonderful work they're doing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you once again, Professor Vijayaraghavan, for doing the honors. Well,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Grassroots Innovation Augmentation Network, that is GIAN, the co-developer of Grassroots Innovation Database, is an incubator of grassroots innovations and traditional knowledge that provides incubation support to grassroots innovators. It encourages innovations in technology, institutions, education, art, and culture. I now request Professor Anil Gupta, founder of GIAN, to present key remarks on the Grassroots Innovations Database. Sir, if you can please unmute yourself.
What an inspiring address, Dr. Vijayaraghavan and Shoko, your very optimistic vision about how UNDP is collaborating with the strategic organizations in our country, but also internationally, was very, very enlivening. Now, I would like to pick up a sentence that Dr. Vijayaraghavan mentioned, that expertise should not be an excuse for living with the disparities. And the expertise of the elite he mentioned, but expertise of the grassroots innovators can certainly be an argument, an excuse for correcting the asymmetry in our society. And I think that was very telling remark of Dr. Vijayaraghavan. He also mentioned that the way elite has usurped the opportunities because of language is something that has to be corrected, that has to be modified by bringing the vernacular traditions of our society into the limelight. The grassroots innovations provide voice. The Honeybee Network has provided voice, visibility, and velocity to the creative ideas of our society for the last 33 years. GIAN was set up in 97, probably the first grassroots innovation incubator in the world, trying to link innovation, investment, and enterprise. And I'm so happy that today in the inaugural function, there will also be a discussion on investments for innovation. So the point is, how do you reduce the transaction cost, ex ante and ex post transaction cost of innovator, of investor, of entrepreneur? Because not all innovators can become entrepreneurs. So this is the task that is very important. And database does very important service to the society. It reduces the transaction cost, and within transaction cost, the ex-ante transaction cost of finding information. Because before you take a step to improve your livelihood, to change the natural resource management, to achieve the inclusive growth, you need to have ideas. Sometimes these ideas can be your own. Sometimes these ideas can be from somebody else. And when these ideas have to be searched, there ought to be a database which reduces the transaction cost of searching. To give an example, this example is from Argentina. Dr. Vijayaraghavan mentioned about malaria. And he also mentioned that we should not try to only solve problems through local solutions. We should also look at the global knowledge base. Now, UNDP Innovation Acceleration Lab Network provided opportunity to us to learn about an app from Argentina, which helps in identifying the mosquitoes. Now, look at that. And it is open access. Now, this application of expertise in Argentina, which is democratizing knowledge, can be utilized in India and elsewhere, and empowering citizen science. That is what Honeybee Network has done and GIAN has done. So we need to encourage, through this database, exchange of knowledge and ideas from India to other countries, but also from other countries to India in due course. We should try to bring in those examples which will help our society to imagine better, to aspire better, and to achieve better. The database also serves one more important process. It makes it democratize. When it democratizes the knowledge, it makes affordable solutions accessible. Affordable solutions accessible to people who want to try things out. So it has a mix of innovation for grassroots and innovation from grassroots. There are technologies by startups which can help change the lives of the people at the grassroots level, but there are also a large number of innovations by common farmers, artisans, mechanics, which have solved problems, as you saw in the small preview while launching the database. So therefore, we are celebrating the creativity, we are celebrating the collaboration, and we are infusing the compassion because of the generosity of these innovators who have shared their knowledge in the society. Now, there are DIY solutions, do-it-yourself solution. You don't have to consult anybody. You don't have to buy any inputs. You can do it yourself. For example, using herbal pesticide. You can make your own pesticide, as many times people do and farmers do. What do? They ask one farmer told me very categorically, he said, look, what you have told us is very clear that any plant which animals don't eat is a potential source of herbal pesticide. Why don't animals eat? Because it is toxic. What do we need for pest control? Toxicity. Why do we buy from the market? We can democratize and become self-reliant. So Atmanirbhar Bharat, the dream that Indian society has, and the Prime Minister has said it so eloquently, can be fulfilled through this partnership between UNDP, Innovation Acceleration Lab India, and Honeybee Network and GYAN, which helps, therefore, to increasing the capacity of the people for achieving a self-reliant development. So I'll conclude by saying that there is a great tribute to the partnership, to Shweta, Rojita, Raghavan, and all other members who have helped us, for the database developer Abhas, who had developed the database in record time, for Anamika, Parth, and all other team members who have helped us in partnering with the UNDP Innovation Acceleration Lab India to create this database. And there's a long way to go, but this is the beginning that today will make it possible for all the labs of UNDP in 108 countries to access this database from today now onwards, and empower people whose access to knowledge has now become affordable and accessible. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor Gupta, for your support in this endeavor. Well, UNDP Global Accelerator Labs Network has 90 labs across 114 countries that are actively innovating and learning from one another. This has been made possible by the founding partners of the Global Accelerator Labs Network, Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development of Germany, and Qatar Foundation for Development. UNDP Accelerator Labs across the globe are continuously tapping into the innovation ecosystems to apply new promising solutions to development challenges. India Accelerator Lab has conducted an innovation challenge called Innovate for SDGs challenge to promote innovators who are applying out-of-box thinking and contributing towards SDGs. Several applications were received for this challenge across India, and thanks to the diverse jury members from Telangana government, Development Alternatives, and UNDP, we now have the winners of the challenge. We are fortunate to have amongst us Ms. Christiane Hieronymus, Minister and Head of Economic Cooperation and Development, Embassy of Federal Republic of Germany in Delhi. May I request you, Christiane, to please announce the names of the winners of Innovate for SDGs.
Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, thank you very much for giving me this nice opportunity to attend this celebration today. And you know, today is also a special day for Germany and India, because we have our development negotiation this afternoon, and of course they are focused on the achievement of the SDGs. I would like to congratulate to UNDP Accelerator Lab India for completing one fascinating year of development differently. And now, of course, it's a great pleasure for me to announce the winners of UNDP's Innovate for SDG Challenge. So when I understand it correctly, then I'm now going to announce the first winner, because it says now Mridu on the screen. Maybe you can help me, because my script is a bit different, but I just announced the first winner, which is Mr. Satyan Engineer. Is that correct?
Yes.
From the Laboratory for Environment Technology Private Limited. And he has innovated something which is very, very important for our everyday life, especially in Delhi, because he tackles noise pollution from vehicular honking. And to reduce that, of course, this is something which is very, very important. So congratulations to him. And the next winner we have is Dr. Kavya Dashora from the Indian Institute of Technology in Delhi. And he has something innovative with regard to something we could eat. It is vegetarian scrambled egg to tackle protein deficiencies among vegetarians. Congratulations to you. Wonderful. So now we have our next winner, and this is Mr. Shashwat Gangwal from Infinity Box. So what has he invented? He has an innovative solution on sustainable packaging, to tackle the single-use plastics in the food delivery industry. We all have too much plastic in our everyday life, so maybe this is a solution to bring that down. Congratulations. Wonderful. Our next winner is Mr. Yash Tarvadi from the Solnce Energy. And he has even combined one solution for two problems, which are drinking water and energy. And he has invented a solution for a decentralized model to convert seawater into drinkable water by using solar energy. So really an excellent idea. Congratulations. So the next winner we have is Niti Pant from S4S Technologies. And there is an innovative solution on solar-powered food dehydration system operated by female entrepreneurs to increase shelf life for food. Congratulations. So and now our next winner on Innovate for SDGs is Mrs. Sarita Achlawat from Aerogram PVT Limited. And she has worked on something which is especially in winter times for all of us very, very important. She has invented a pollution monitoring device so that we all know how our personal exposure to air pollution is. So congratulations. So our next winner I'm proud to present is Pramod Priya Ranjan from Care Form Labs Private Limited. She's tackling a female problem and she has invented a solution for redesigned eco-friendly and user-friendly menstrual cups to tackle the menstrual sanitary waste every month. Congratulations to her. So once again, congratulations to all the winner. The last one even was a man. I'm very sorry, I mixed up the names and I thought this is a typical female challenge, but even better that a man has innovated it. So congratulations from all of us to the winners. And I'm really glad to announce that the Accelerator Lab India will now closely work together with the winners of the challenge to co-create and pilot the innovations for development impact in India. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to really have the pleasure to announce the winners of the challenge and also to participate in the first birthday of the Accelerator Lab in India. I'm really proud to have the opportunity to work together with UNDP as the development corporation in Germany.
Thank you, Ms. Christiane, for those encouraging and wonderful words. We congratulate all the winners once again for their remarkable efforts. I now request Ms. Nadia Rashid, Deputy Resident Representative, UNDP India, to deliver a vote of thanks.
Thank you very much. Dear friends, dear colleagues, on behalf of UNDP, I would really like to thank each one of you for joining the Accelerator Lab's first anniversary celebration. I'd like to especially thank our esteemed panel for sharing their encouragement, their guidance, and their wisdom. Thank you firstly to Professor Vijay Raghavan for sharing your vision for the innovation ecosystem in India, grounded in a commitment to sustainable development, to social and gender equality, and to lifting marginalized voices. We're especially inspired by Professor Anil Gupta's message to work towards inclusive, collaborative, and empowering innovations, and especially innovations from the grassroots for the grassroots. Let me also express our warm thanks to Ms. Christiane Hieronymus for the continued support and advice from the Embassy of the Federal Republic of Germany. Friends, last year UNDP established 60 accelerator labs in 78 countries, along with our founders, the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development of Germany and the Qatar Fund for Development. The Global Accelerator Labs network has gained much traction in the development ecosystem, and it's quickly expanding to 90 labs across 114 countries. The labs that are also known as the fast and the curious are actively innovating, learning from each other's experiences. Their success would not have been possible without the support of our founding partners and the collaboration and guidance from national partners. In India, the lab has had an exciting journey over the last year, be it exploring an artificial intelligence platform to tackle air pollution, or a blockchain platform to enhance income of spice-growing small farmers, or IoT-based smart irrigation to conserve water, or Corona Champion Games to demystify COVID-19. The lab is continuously engaging with new ways to solve development challenges and with new partners. And we're really truly fortunate to be part of the vibrant innovation ecosystem in India, working with and learning from startups, students, grassroots innovators, government, civil society and private sector partners, academia, and research institutions. So what next? Looking forward to our second year, the India Accelerator Lab will continue to work closely with innovators and partners across the spectrum, promoting sense-making, sharing collective intelligence, and building a portfolio of solutions to address our most pressing development challenges. We look forward to sharing insights from India's vast innovation experience with global learning networks, and we look forward to bringing back learnings from other countries to India. And we also look forward to working with all of you in this effort. Thank you again for joining us today. And please do stay tuned into the India Accelerator Lab journey.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Rashid. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we conclude the first session of our program. Please do join us again at 11:20 for the roundtable on investments for innovation. Well, the roundtable starts at 11:30, but do join us at 11:20, and you could also utilize this time to visit our resource center and hashtag innovate for SDGs gallery and so on. So let's meet again after this very short break. Thank you. Distinguished panelists and participants to the substantive segment of the first anniversary celebrations of Accelerator Lab in India. The Accelerator Lab is an innovative and bold initiative by the UNDP with support from the government. It's a global collaborative endeavor to find radical new approaches to complex development challenges. UNDP's Accelerator Lab India was launched on 28th November 2019 in strategic partnership with the Atal Innovation first anniversary of the Accelerator Lab in India through this virtual platform. In the morning, we had a very exciting and stakeholder roundtable involving senior representatives from private sector, philanthropic foundations, government ecosystems to brainstorm on how strategic investments could accelerate progress in achieving sustainable remarks.
Thank you very much, Mirdu. Distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, it's really a great pleasure to be able to welcome you all to this roundtable discussion on investments for innovation, organized as part of the first year anniversary celebration of sustainable development, both globally and in India. As you know, in 2015, the Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs, were adopted by all UN member states as a universal call to action to end poverty, to protect the planet, and to help countries to achieve their aspirations of ending poverty and inequality, and advancing sustainable development and the commitment and milestone in the UN system efforts to accelerate progress on the SDGs. We're working with partners across government being implemented and to introduce new methods and services backed by evidence and practice. The labs operate learning, enabling us really to explore new solutions that can work and grow in weeks or months rather than in years, rapidly evolving and require robust responses to be able to address the growing complexity. Around the world, we've seen, unfortunately, that the COVID-19 pandemic has brought incredible loss, disruption, and stress, resulting in loss of lives, jobs, and livelihoods. Supporting efforts to respond to and to recover from the socioeconomic impacts of COVID-19 is a key priority for UNDP. And we recognize that innovation is a critical means in this effort. It's critical to achieving an inclusive and sustainable. UNDP is also working with government partners in Invest India to develop SDG investor maps with the aim of providing investors with market intelligence to facilitate investment decisions that contribute significantly to achieving the SDGs. The power of partnerships to strengthen innovation, to explore how investments can accelerate SDG progress, and to achieve our common goal. So let me thank you all once again for joining us, and I look forward to having a very enriching.
Thank you, Ms. Rashid. India's Accelerator Lab is a part of a global network of 90 Accelerator Labs covering 114 nations. Video on the same.
Hello, we are the UNDP Accelerator Lab India team. I am Rosita Singh, Head of Solutions Mapping.
I'm Sweta Koluri, Head of Experimentation.
I am Krishnan Srinivas Raghavan, Head of Exploration.
It's been 1 year of doing development differently. Globally, the Accelerator Lab network was launched by UNDP in...
The founding partners of the Accelerator Lab are the Qatar Fund for Development and the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development of Germany.
The network taps into local innovations to create actionable insights and reimagine development for the 21st century.
At policy level, the aim is to scale up. We do so by working with government stakeholders like Ministry of Science and Technology, Niti Aayog, and policy think tanks for building a conducive ecosystem and policy advocacy that encourages innovations.
At institutional level, the aim is to scale deep. We work with state and local governments for institutionalizing Angana anchored within the state government's innovation ecosystem in partnership with Grassroots Innovation Augmentation Network.
At technology level, our aim is to scale out. We are actively applying the power of emerging technologies such as blockchain, artificial intelligence, and Internet of Things to development challenges in India. For instance, we have developed an artificial intelligence platform using geospatial data to help the regulator.
We are working with startups who won our innovation challenge to tackle air pollution.
We are leveraging IoT for efficient water conservation in agriculture in the state of Tamil Nadu.
We are also developing a national level blockchain platform for Indian spices.
Even during the pandemic, we continued to innovate by launching an innovative game called Corona Champions, designed to bust myths and spread awareness related to COVID-19.
Now let's hear from our partners on this incredible journey.
So the team we've been working with have been efficient,
exceptional, fantastic,
something very creative,
very high levels of professionalism.
Happy birthday, 1 year completed, and what a successful year that's been.
Many congratulations to the UNDP Accelerator Labs team.
It is a very remarkable achievement to spend the first 1 year with so much of encouraging and positive results.
The support that we have received has been tremendous, and we wish all the best to the entire Accelerator Labs team.
I would like to wish Accelerator Lab UNDP India office a great time in future.
I can't imagine my journey without the help of Accelerator Labs in the last 1 year, and we are very excited to continue with.
UNDP, in partnership with the SDG Investor Map for India. These are based on standard sector investment opportunities. I now request Mr. Karan Raj Chaudhary, Advisor, Social Impact Investor Map.
Thank you. Thank you and welcome everyone. But before I go specifically into the findings of the investor map, I'm just going to take a moment to introduce some of the broader work that we're doing at UNDP across the financing agenda. Together with the Ministry of Finance, specifically the Department of Economic Affairs. We are working with the Securities and Exchange Board on supporting the development of the social stock exchange. We're also increasingly integrating aspects of SDG and innovative financing as part of the programmatic interventions at UNDP. For example, we are exploring how is it that we can unlock outcomes-based together with other partners to support the formation of alliances around returnable grants for migrant workers. The SDG Impact Initiative, and specifically the Investor Map, is therefore part of this broader continuum of work that the country office is carrying out. Global initiative of UNDP across markets, and it creates value by putting together these three core products around impact management, impact intelligence, and impact facilitation. Impact management is essential. Earlier this year, we held consultations in India on the SDG standards for bonds, as well as the SDG standards for private equity. We're also looking to work now on, together with stakeholders, very much part of this panel, but also otherwise, on moving forward with the work on the SDG standards for enterprises. So how is it that corporates and businesses can really align their impact intelligence is the work primarily around creation of the SDG investor maps. These aim to gather actionable SDGs through commercially viable investment opportunities. And the final is around impact facilitation. This is something that UNDP really thinks of at its core, which is primarily around convening, making connections, enabling partnerships and alliances to carry forward this agenda. In each country, we are developing SDG investor maps. Currently, they've been developed in about 20 countries globally or are at various stages of development. Only create a global database that will put together information around business models, development needs, indicators, SDG alignment. What are some of the key risks with some of these investment opportunities? What are some of the key economic factors and enabling factors and policy institutions? In the hopes of encouraging further diligence and bringing more attention towards what could potentially be an actionable and an investable pipeline. The methodology of the SDG investor maps is fairly standard, is also something that is comparable. We started this effort in April of this year. It's an 8-step methodology, development challenges that exist, an evaluation then of national priorities. So in India's case, there was a lot of interaction and study of policy documents released by Niti Aayog, as well as others. And then we identify critical sectors and subsectors. Finally, we also do a regional analysis and then arrive at what we call investment goals, but they are one level up. It is presenting an actionable theme that we think contains a number of opportunities and has witnessed scalable business models and viable business models that can attract SDG-aligned capital. Renewable energy, food and beverages, which includes agriculture primarily, and financial services. All of these, when we think about the India context, are fairly predictable sectors. Some of the emerging investment opportunity 12. When we look at healthcare, it includes technology-enabled remote care services, as well as affordable medical equipment and supply here. A number of the investment opportunity areas, 10 of the 18 in fact, have a strong digital component. When we look at healthcare, for example, technology-enabled remote care became increasingly important during the pandemic. The also led to that being an investment opportunity area. All of these investment opportunity areas that have been identified through a consultative process with over 50 stakeholders. The first steps of the methodology are more government-facing, investor-driven. We made a very conscious effort to bring in voices, not just from the impact investing space, but also Accel and others, as well as, of course, IFIs such as the International Finance Corporation, the World Bank. For example, it includes digital platforms on both the input side to service inputs and provide market access to farmers, and also a snapshot of the investment opportunity areas. And we will share the link to the full report as well. Thank you, and I'll just pause there.
Thank you, Mr. Chaudhary. We now begin the panel discussion on investments for innovation, throwing light on the ongoing engagements in promoting innovations through investments for achieving sustainable development goals. We already saw that there are 5 major sectors which the India investment map has, where the opportunities of a table. Moderating the session is Dr. Krishnan Srinivasa Raghavan, Head of Exploration, Accelerator Lab, UNDP India.
Thank you, Mridu, and thank you, Karan, for that wonderful presentation. A warm welcome to the panelists, and also UNDP India resident representative mentioned, this is a very important topic in terms of achieving SDGs. So innovation is the key to achieve SDGs, being the COVID, which has disrupted supply chains across the world. And as such, the progress was a bit slow in terms of achieving SDGs. And as you are aware, there is nearly $2.5 trillion annual gap between what is being spent today and what would suffice to meet the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So as such, there is a funding gap. Innovation for troubleshooting. So we must focus on how to reduce both the amount of investment necessary and also the time needed to achieve the SDGs. How can we do that? So there are proven technologies and innovations, if adapted and deployed at scale, could meaningfully narrow the SDG investment gap. We have to innovate quickly, attract capital to innovative solutions, and drive innovations at scale. So there are a lot of initiatives by UN, including the SDG Investor Map, the UNDP's flagship project, which current panel here for the benefit of audience. We have Dr. Devapriya Datta, who's advisor and head of the Science for Equity, Empowerment and Development Division of the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. We have Dr. Vijay Raghavan, who is the chairman and CEO. We have Dr. Ajit Rangnekar, who is the Director General of Research and Innovation Circle of Hyderabad. We have Dr. Srivalli Krishnan, who is the Senior Program Officer, Global Development of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. We have Ms. Shweta Kurana, who is Director, Asia Pacific and Japan, Global Partnerships in Intel. We have Mr. Hemendra Mathur, who is Venture Partner with Bharat Innovation Fund. We have Ms. Sakina Baker, who's the CSR head for Indian subcontinent at Philips. We have Dr. Purushottam Kaushik, who's the head of the Center for Fourth Industrial Revolution Network of the World Economic Forum. A wide range of organizations, including government, private sector, CSOs, investor community, and we also have experts in investment. So on what are the bottlenecks to innovation in scale up, and what kind of strategies the respective organizations are. Also discuss about what kind of platforms we will we can think of to kick off dialogues and discussions. First, let me start with this question to the panel that I start with Mr. Hemendra Mathur. What do you feel are the significant bottlenecks preventing innovations from achieving scale? So after your response, each response perspectives, we want to gather multiple perspectives on this, and then we will move on to the next discussion point. So first one is, we are going to focus on significant bottlenecks.
So if I prioritize the bottlenecks to scale, and most of my experience is in agriculture and agri-tech, so maybe the more relevant tech space, but it takes them months and years to validate the product. So of course, it is changing with better incubation, a lot of focus by the government to to provide this capital. But still, I see there's a lot of vacuum out there. Multi-stakeholder platforms, which can give platform for startups to engage with corporates, platforms for guiding, mentoring, helping these startups to do technical validation. So I think that's number two. Third, I would say 150 million farmers, only about 10% of those farmers have adopted any kind of agri-tech solution. So there's enough headroom for growth. Really, we need to work on both. Government is already working on building agri-stack, which will hopefully enable a very seamless access to farmer for providing services, products, insurance, credit, etc. And physical access is also critical because most farmers are not so digitally evolved. So, building bridges, conduits for taking this innovation from larger cities to villages. So I'll stop here and over to you, Krishnan.
Thank you very much, Hemendra. I think these are very, very important points. Access to catalytic capital, multi-stakeholder platforms, access to farmers, the channels to access farmers. I think these three are very, very critical, and you rightly pointed out. Moving on to Dr. Datta from the Department of Science and Technology.
Dr. Raghavan, and thank you for this the invitations. As you know, like the government has different the facets. One facet is what Mr. Mathur has already told, that in the agri-tech sectors. But like what we from the fact the technology-driven social enterprise around the livelihood, sustainable livelihood systems, because we are talking in the context of sustainability. You have to have a balance between, already you have told that the COVID has impacted the SDG, and we have to factor it here in the bringing the innovations and the risk involved into that in alignment with the sustainable livelihood requirement of the people on the field. So while doing so, what we have observed that when if you say the livelihood system, it has basically the two aspects. One is the internal aspects, basically the health, nutrition, and the other is the external aspects, which is linked to the income generations and which resulted in the social, the entrepreneurships. Now, looking at it from the technology point of view, because it is your current, multi-stakeholders, like starting with the knowledge generations organizations and the non-governmental organization, the startups and the community. Out of that, the experience, what we find, again, I'm focusing that in these post-COVID situations, the huge requirement there is in terms of this innovative technology, the certifications, because there are many market linkage and the development from the social entrepreneurships, social enterprise perspective, financial linkage, and weak ecosystems of the business opportunity, which are livelihood based, because till now it has happened mostly on the exploiting the local resources and the cost of the low cost of the labor. We have to but look into the requirement and having a balance between these two. So there is a requirement of that the convergence with the innovations ministries as well as the implementation ministries, where focus is mostly on the external component of the livelihood system. And there are many the relevant technologies, and like we are also from the Department of Science and Technology, we're doing also an the rural level acceleration, which is called TAPRISE, which I will come later on. But currently, I stop here because we find that, and also to do this, we need a strong collaborations between all the stakeholders of the governance. So all of the the representatives and SDGs. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Datta. I think you touched upon very, very important points, including the certification of innovations. I mean, I think that is one of the significant bottlenecks of how to even evaluate a technology and innovation, and what kind of certifications are available in the country. Also, the market linkages. I think many of our panelists will agree that market linkages and financial linkages, access to finance, so these are the critical discussions. It will come up, where how social enterprises and other rural entrepreneurs are being supported by TAPRISE of DST, and how as organizations we can work with you together. Thank you for that. And I'm moving on to Dr. Purushottam from World Economic Forum on the same discussion point on what do you see as bottlenecks for scaling up innovations. Dr. Purushottam, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Krishnan. I think few bottlenecks that we are trying to address through World Economic Forum is one is that certainly like Center for Fourth Industrial Revolution, which is the solutions are getting implemented in the domains, and we are focusing on agriculture, healthcare, smart cities as three initial domains where we are looking at very seriously. While one of the critical pillar that most of the startups or most of the innovators are missing is the reach, and that's something World Economic Forum looking for such innovators to bridge their products to the reach. So that's one thing which we are trying to look at. And second thing which also they miss is that to reach to the government, because various whether state governments or central governments, startups have very limited resources and maybe innovators. That's where focus is that most of the innovators today are struggling for data. And I was talking to quite a few, and a few friends are here as well in this meeting. The struggle for getting the data, most of the resources get utilized in just acquiring the data, while they should not be wasting their resources in just a fresh or maybe the prime acquisition of data. So what we are looking at and working with various states and government institutions, that the data should be made available for all the innovators to be accessed, so that the innovation part, they can focus more on the solutions, not rather than there is another piece which possibly this whole innovation piece gets missed out, is that as we go and try to kind of bring some pilots to the ground, the struggle is that how do we really make it work and miss the last miles, because many times maybe almost like months and months get wasted even just to connect to the right person in the right place and acquire the right funds. So that's something which we are also working on the ground to make these institutions closer to the real projects which they want to do. And we have a program called Global Pioneers, where we are looking at these organizations, not just limited to India, because there are many organizations and innovators who possibly for whatever economic reasons in terms of ARPU or in terms of return on investment may not be just okay with the solutions coverage only in India. So we are giving and trying to extend some of these very promising startups through this global innovator programs to the world, and trying to see how we can scale them. And these are the things which we believe can really help innovation prosper.
Thank you, Dr. Purushottam. I think again these are all wonderful points. Especially, I'm keen on that pilots to the ground, because we, as you know, in Accelerator Lab, we are also doing a lot of pilots and experimenting, testing new solutions and use cases. I think we will be more than excited to work with on this particular aspect, especially on the use cases, to attract investment, because at the end of the day, private sector may not be interested unless the community may not be interested to acquire these innovations if it is not, the use case is not very well established. So that is also one of the critical aspects which you touched upon, on the reach as well, and connecting the demand with supply. So that is again through government channel as well as with the private sector. So that is an excellent point. I'm moving on to Mr. Srikanth Prabhu to share your views. Yeah.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Mr. Krishnan, and welcome. Thank you, everyone. And it's great to listen to my fellow panelists. And a lot has been said about ecosystem and the role of ecosystem. And we are trying to build one at Social Alpha by working together with partners and creating an enabling ecosystem for innovators and entrepreneurs to create the larger impact. But maybe a lot has already been said. So it's kind of I'll just try to fill in the blanks, so to say. So one, I would actually try to bring focus to the innovation itself, right? And that also I think is quite important in terms of like if you provide the right solution, which is scalable inherently, that will scale itself in some way. Of course, the role of ecosystem is always comes. So from an innovation point of view, and again, our experience of being in this space for the last 5 years and working closely with innovators and entrepreneurs, sometimes we also see that there needs to be a deeper understanding of the problem, the context, and the stakeholders at the grassroots. So sometimes we also see there's a kind of disparity between the lab and the grassroots. So and then that goes into the design of the innovation itself. And so some design principles with regard to access, affordability, and quality. And if we bring this into the design stage, then the innovations inherently become scalable, right? So those are a couple things I wanted to touch upon the innovation itself. Then, of course, I think financing has been spared. Hemendraji talked about catalytic financing, but the relevant business models around the innovation which makes them scalable, right? With the right blend of user financing or other forms of making it affordable for the end stakeholder. So the business model around the innovation itself. And finally, coming to the ecosystem aspects, I would say a lot about information itself, awareness and knowledge. I mean, and I think all the initiatives that was outlined that the UNDP is spearheading is welcome in that regard, in terms of making information accessible with regard to solutions that are already out there, so that it can be more collaborative versus reinvention of wheel. And then finally, I'll also underline the whole constraint of resources. We live in a constraint of resources for the kind of problems at population scale we confront. And as I just cannot help but underline that. So the entire continuum of capital, right? I mean, Hemendraji did underline this, but right from innovation grants to the right risk capital. Of course, the role of commercial capital will also come at the end, but the role of catalysts, we come with a lot of catalytic capital for venture creation. And finally, end user financing. Somebody also spoke about development impact bonds and outcome financing. So the right blends of all of this. So I think this, this entire kind of whole stack of solutions. I think there are players. If you look at it, there are players all across. But I think finally, to the larger point of multi-stakeholder platforms, I feel there are stakeholders. There needs to be an alignment of intent, interest, and incentives between these stakeholders to make this work, right? And that would mean that we need to collaborate across civil society, government, and business stakeholders to achieve this. So yeah, I'll just stop there with that last point about the whole alignment piece, which might need to be done much more than what we are doing right now to really scale some of these,
which will help organizations to invest in strategically where it is required rather than reinventing the wheel. And also the innovative business models that you touched upon, I think that's very, very important in terms of choosing what, even if the technology is very good, what kind of business model it encompasses, that ensures success in the market. So I think that is also equally very important. So thanks for that. Moving on to Dr. Vijay Raghavan from Sadhguru to share his views on the topic.
Thank you, Dr. Krishnan. Sadhguru actually engages and invests in life sciences innovation. So from a life sciences perspective, be it plant or animal or human health, the innovation ecosystem recognizes typically path-breaking original innovations that can address critical human needs at a larger scale for the massive impact that one can look at from those new innovations. So perceived from this perspective, we do not yet have an innovation ecosystem for advancing discovery-led life science innovation in the country still. We have, by and large, created an ecosystem, in the last 10 years that can take last mile innovation to delivery, and that's a challenge today. we in Sadhguru pursue the advancement of the 10% that addresses disruptively fundamental challenges in agriculture and health. Since the ecosystem is evolving for that, our efforts to get them to global acclaim requires continuous partnering far beyond the national networks into global system. The bottleneck arises now and standards by and large. We have tons of data in the country, but we don't have standards, that we can reliably have this data in a framework that one can access. And of course, the risk-related funding is far more severe when it comes to, upstream and translational rate, and a key lack of academic partnership, which is very essential for, to some extent, we are seeing that happening in COVID today, driven by the necessity. Otherwise, it's a big challenge that, one really embarks on overseas institutions for that kind of partnership than domestic structures, which is pretty efficient and great, but it doesn't just get connected. This is to preventive care products in healthcare or devices in class 2 or class 3. We have plenty of class 1 devices that come out of the last mile, but where are we on 2 and 3? We struggle to take them even to,
I think you touched upon the key constraints, and especially in life sciences sector. I can completely empathize. I'm also from a life science background, so I completely relate to what you said. Validation, regulatory, as well as standards. I think these are all standard constraints, and life science, especially when it involves human trials, and especially, the entire chain is so long when compared to other sectors. The challenge is much more in life sciences. Upstream funding, yes, definitely. I think that is a key bottleneck, and that I think that you touched upon very nicely. Moving on to Professor Ajit Ranganekar from RICH, Hyderabad, the Director General of RICH. Would like to hear from you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Krishnan. So we are, for those, some of you I have met, but for those of you who are not met, we are that multi-stakeholder platform that we are all talking about. We started 3 years ago in Hyderabad, and we focus on 2 verticals, life sciences and agriculture, because in Hyderabad, that's what we have in abundance. We have industry, we have startups, we have academic institutions, the office at the center to try and take this concept nationally. But for the moment, we are still focused on life sciences and agriculture. So let me talk about those 2. And I think Mr. Hemendra Mathur already talked a lot about agriculture, about the fact that it's highly disaggregated, but also it's a highly politicized market. So communication is going to be a big use. The second thing is that agriculture is, these people have 1 hectare plot. They can't take a decision based on a PowerPoint presentation. They need real proof. So what are we doing? What we are doing is we are setting up proving grounds where we will demonstrate the technology and give them half an acre plot for them to themselves come and see it work. Because unless you do that, it also requires, because some FPAs are progressive, some are not. So you have to work with the right ones, you have to move in that. So that's one. The second thing is in agriculture, the databases are all physical papers. You don't really have a good database. And so one of the other things that has to be developed is a national agriculture database. The third big challenge is that every one of the startups is coming with one part. So if somebody's for cropping, somebody's for something else, somebody's for water, a farmer is not going to move through 25 different apps. So we're going to need an aggregation about how we do it, right? Then there is, of course, the same issue of certification, validation, and all of that. But we work with the local state university, and we're doing pilots with the state universities to ensure certification. So there is a fair bit that is happening, but like everywhere, there are a whole lot of challenges. I'll come to all of them. When it comes to life sciences, there are 2 areas we focus on. One is biotech. And in biotech today, people can do something in a 5 milliliters, but after that, taking it to say 100 liters or 200 liters, a flexi factory in Hyderabad, where any startup can go, try it out, make sure that it works, probably fail a few times, and then take it to a level where it's now at technology transfer level 6 or 7. The other big area is diagnostics and devices. And again, I think so many people, including Vijay and others, have already mentioned this. There is very little data which can be used. Today, if you go to any public hospital anywhere in the country and say, tell me how many people with COVID no, forget COVID, but how many people with malaria did you diagnose today? They'll say many, maybe hundreds, but they don't know who they are. They don't know where they are because most of the data is manual. So when you prepare a device or a diagnostics for some disease, you need to test it out. Validation becomes important. So there is somebody who has got a cough machine which can diagnose. So we have now set up 12 test beds in 12 different hospitals where startups can go and actually start testing them out. Also get very important thing which we miss in life sciences is access to clinicians. You know, people come from IT sector and simply don't understand how real life works in a hospital or in an emergency, and access to clinicians is absolute mandatory. So that's again what we are doing through our network. All right. Validation, regulatory continue to be huge, big problems. And I think if we can solve the regulatory, which we did, by the way, in COVID, the regulatory problem was solved in COVID, and we need to ensure, all of us together need to ensure that that is continued. But, you know, again, unlike a digital scale-up startups are simply incapable of doing that. So we need to create, and we are at very, very early. I would love to partner with all of you here to develop a capability within the country which can take, as Vijay talked, from TRL 3 to TRL 7 and 8. There is the massive opportunity because the DST and DBT have done a phenomenal job of getting initial products. Okay, so that's another. Then the last couple of things is, and again, I think Hemendra Mathurji talked about access to early stage funding, so I won't get into that. But I think we must understand that the funding in this is not going to give you a Zoom or a Baiju-like return of 5,000 times. These are where you are getting 20% return if you get thank your stars. The return is not financial return, the return is social return. And unless we sensitize the whole investment community to this, we are not going to get. So all of us have to really start this campaign that for God's sake, there is a total return. It's not financial return. I have faced so much frustration on this, I can't tell you how it is. And the last thing I'll talk about is most of the buyers. Why do social enterprises exist? Because the government has failed to deliver. So in most cases, it is the government which is the buyer. And they are the biggest bottleneck to innovation. They want L1. They have started in Hyderabad. We work literally across the country now. But I get scared when somebody says government is my buyer, because look at every state government or look at every entrepreneur. The biggest receivables for every entrepreneur is from state governments. And if we do not change that, we can forget about innovation for masses. Sorry to be so this thing, but I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ajit. I think we have covered a lot of ground, especially on the scalability of innovations and technology readiness levels, and also financial and regulatory constraints, especially biotech and life sciences sector. And also, we are quite excited to know about rich work on proving grounds, establishing proving grounds for innovations. I think that is the key to get the social acceptance and also for, the stakeholders to come together. That's very valuable. So moving on to Dr. Srivalli Krishnan from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. What are your views on...
in the previous presentations and the discussion. At the Gates Foundation, we believe that innovations are a global public good. And private philanthropy like ours can really support some of these innovations by providing the risk capital, which Hemendra Mathur just mentioned in terms of. I would say that the bottlenecks can be actually categorized into innovation management, innovation process, and of course the resource and execution bottlenecks. Now, in terms of the innovation management, one of the things that we are seeing is we have the multidisciplinary aspects of the idea when we are actually looking at a particular idea that is being executed. So whether it is agriculture, R&D, translational research, we tend to be very siloed in our thinking that this is the problem and this is the kind of this is required for an innovation to achieve at scale. Secondly, when we talk about innovation, as much as an innovation is an art, the process of getting an innovation really to achieve scale is science. Unless we have enough data, enough evidence that a particular innovation is able to achieve things faster, cheaper, and at scale, it is not possible that an innovation will be commercially viable and market ready. And it is important that we take these two into consideration, taking the point from my previous speaker, that while the government can be the buyer, eventually it has to be something that is flourishing in an open market and is commercially viable. We are not looking at Ubers and as you said, Baiju's of the world, but at least if that is able to reach the end user to achieve to address a particular problem in a faster, cheaper aspect, then it is something that we can call that innovation has achieved its impact. Finally, when we talk about execution, it is important that we are looking at not only the execution from looking at pre-series A or series B, as in the investor community we're looking at, where the dearth of there is no dearth of incubators, but what is the problem is the resource that is available through a lot of these incubators is not even a fraction of what is required for these innovations to achieve at scale. Finally, we have a lot of financials that are available in post series B, but what about pre-series A, where the really is where the funnel has to pass through, and that innovations has to pass those tests, making sure that it is something that is achieving a particular problem statement or a challenge. Finally, when we are talking about partnership, we are looking at partnership with government, with stakeholders, with different types of academics. And I think COVID has actually shown us that unless we are talking about a multidisciplinary, multi-stakeholder partnership, we are unable to achieve anything at scale. We require academics, we require governments, we require regulators, we require the end users all to be in the same table when it comes to taking a decision on whether something can be deployed in a particular community, what are the changes that are required with respect to the regulatory policy aspect, and something that can be achieved at scale. I'll stop at that, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Srivalli. I think, again, you touched upon the multi-stakeholder aspects and partnerships quite well in terms of taking these innovations and taking decisions related to innovations. If all the stakeholders are on the same table, looking at each other from other shoes to see what are the challenges. So that is one of the, I think, the need of that.
Thank you so much. It's been great to hear all of the panelists about, and most of the things have been covered already. But I was very close to what Srivalli was talking about, because I work in the CSR space. So obviously, our work starts with the community, and gradually it is for the community. It starts with looking at the needs. It starts with looking at what they are doing, what they need on the ground, rather than thrusting upon them something. We tend to forget that there are a lot of things that needs to be done at the basic level. When we talk about, we go to certification and everything later. The basic is that we don't have a dearth of talent in India when it comes to innovation. It's amazing talent you can see even the grassroots that you go, you see, and you meet people, you see amazing stuff that they're doing, and which would be eventually for a larger good unless it gets scaled up. But do we really have a platform to start with? What usually we see, they innovate, they come up to agencies and say, okay, fine, this is my solution, this is my product. Would you be able to help me scale it? Can you get me resources for this? That is not where we want to get into. That's not where we want to actually support them. What we want to look at is the work on, and this is what the impact is eventually going to be. We want to be with them from day one, where they're given a platform to start, where they're given a platform where they can have access to data, where they're given a platform where they can learn from other innovators. They don't start working in silos or start from scratch, where 10,000 like-minded innovators, like-minded experts who can help them do a better job in innovation, what they're doing. And also making sure that their solutions are done with the community or that identified group before they start actually working on it. Now, that if that phase is given, a major problem that we have in the country right now of getting the right resources for the innovators, I think there's also an issue of a little lesser trust factor when it comes to trusting the innovator or the person who's innovating, unless you see the viability of it commercially, or you see it more. And Mr. Ajit also touched upon it. There's a process that needs to be followed. Is it a process that is being followed? Because I believe every single sector that we talk about, if we are doing an innovation in the health sector, it has a ripple effect on other sectors, its education, its skilling, its environment. So we can't say that we're doing health, it's doing something wonderful, or it will create situations for that, but it may be hampering situations for the other sectors. So are we really needs a support and training support for those innovators who are doing, I think, who are investing everything what they have at that moment with the passion that they have to create innovation. That are they actually putting in the right execution model? Are they able to create from start to connecting with the right stakeholders, with the government, with the community, with the people who would eventually scale it up? So this is the platform that we need to create for these people who would be able to not end up with the innovation first, but from start they're a part of it. They're channelized and maybe driven and directed towards a certain solution, which would eventually have a lot of people coming up and scaling up. Being a part of the platform is also going to add to the credibility of that innovator. And I believe that if you're not able to create a platform for the people like that, for that immense talent, that platform, we have to make sure that the management process is complete and it is driven and they're trained, they're provided timely trainings, which I don't think that happens for these innovators. They have to be given access to the changes in technology that is happening, which these people are talking together and making sure that these gaps are fulfilled and we are able to move ahead faster and more sustainable driven than service driven mode. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sakina. I think, again, these are all very interesting rather than once they develop the innovation, come to the market. So I think that's a very valuable insight. And also on the demand and supply, I think the innovators at the early stage of the idea development itself, if they know and discuss with, thanks for that. Moving on to our final panelist, Ms. Shweta Kurana from Intel for her views.
Thanks, Dr. Krishnan. Yeah. So at Intel, we believe that AI is a technology which will deliver profound benefits for our societies. But then again, while we are poised to take advantage of all of you have covered a lot of ground when you spoke about the journey of an innovator and the challenges. I mean, if I have to think about it from developing a prototype to building a minimum viable product to getting a patent to actually moving to productization and scale of an innovation is a challenge in itself. If I have to sum it up, I will possibly use 3 words to talk about it. One is nurturing the right mindset of an innovator to ensure right from day one, before they start this journey, they know what they are going in for. And the second would be to make sure that they have adequate skill sets. Many a time, specifically since we work in the field of emerging technologies and we're working with in the K-12 segment itself, we are working it because that's one of the 18 investment opportunity areas identified by UNDP. And third, of course, I know a lot of you have touched upon that, is access to tool sets. So skill sets, mindsets, and tool sets, all 3 are extremely critical and a challenging environment for any innovator to thrive today. Sakina mentioned another word, trust in an innovator, artificial intelligence solutions for the Indian market, but so difficult to get people to trust those solutions, but those solutions are par excellence. They've gone through a very arduous journey. Those solutions have justified social impact in a large way, but again, getting access to trust and investment is a huge challenge for them.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. Access to skill set, tool set, and mindset. I think you put it so nicely that these are very, very essential for, I think these are overlooked many times. I think you brought in the right lens in terms of not just looking at innovation as a technology or product, but I think these qualities one should also pay attention to. In the interest of time, we have one more critical question, but what I want is I'll just read out the investment opportunity areas that Mr. Karan, my colleague, has presented. If any of you feel any area is missing, please raise your hand so that we don't need to go through the entire panel, because most of you agree with the investment areas. But if anything is missing from the UNDP SDG investor map that we presented, I'll just read it for your for your listening. So institute financing, under education, online supplementary education, affordable early childhood school chains under education. Under healthcare, we have covered low-cost hospital satellite centers, care units, technology-enabled remote care services, again under healthcare, affordable medical equipment and consumables, and API manufacturing. So these are the 4 areas under healthcare. Under renewable energy and micromobility, innovative solutions to ensure round-the-clock energy generation, reducing variability in renewable power generation. And under the food and beverages, including agriculture, we have digital platforms to service inputs, needs for farmers. Digital platforms are offering technology-enabled solutions. Food processing to reduce wastage and diversity of food product offerings. Production and delivery of dairy products. So these are the 4 areas covered under food and beverages. And under financial services, we have to promote uptake and adoption of formal financial services in underserved geographies. So these are under financial sector. So we have broadly education, healthcare, renewable and alternative energy, food and beverages, financial services. So these are the sectors. And kindly raise your hands. We have an option here so that Mr. Hemendra, yeah.
I think I would say 2 areas. I think dairy one can expand to livestock and include fisheries, goateries, aqua also, because there are a lot of farmers who are dependent on it. And even in dairy, I think we need to go deeper. For example, there are a lot of challenges on fodder production. Look at agri-fintech opportunities, a lot of interesting innovations, but need a lot of ecosystem support to scale them. So these 2 areas for me.
Thank you. And Dr. Vijayaraghavan, you, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in area of health, I certainly, the API has become a big player's game with volume drive. Biologics are, what that will replace a lot of API as we go. And that's something where SMEs can greatly innovate. So I would rather look at biologics than API. That's one part. Second element is I think we have fairly good focus on food and human health. But I think the challenge we see is the animal health as such. And I know Dr. Shivali has been investing in, animal health. So I think that's an area that really requires critical attention as well.
Thank you.
Both from a food perspective as well as health perspective. Yeah.
Professor Ajit, thanks for that. Professor Ajit?
So I think Vijay covered it. I was saying biologics is a lot more important. And that's, first of all, it is the thing of the future, but even today, we are very, very weak in biologics, and that's the extremely important ingredient of our life sciences.
Okay, so point well taken, biologics. And Dr. Datta, yes.
Yeah, Dr. Raghavan, can I raise
please.
1 or 2 points?
Yeah, please.
Actually, recently we are going through in Science Society, the Connect or the Setu, web clinic. Time has come where we should invest into land to lab and really depending upon the innovativeness of the farmers around. So, and in this context, I think there isn't as we have already discussed about the investment should be in the context of the the local manufacturing the process, because we have seen that many of the government or non-government they have the prototype, but when it comes to really taking it to the field, there's no local manufacturing capacity. So that's a big missing point, and the local manufacturing the development should be the one of the investment priorities.
Thank you very much, Dr. Datta. So I think we got some interesting areas. These areas you could incorporate so that our investor map, we could further improve and fine tune it. So thanks very much for that. And given the time constraints, I'm moving to the last segment of the roundtable, which is about creating a discussion platform. I think multi-stakeholder platform is one aspect which all the panelists agree that we need to have it. DST has talked about the tap rice. He mentioned, Dr. Datta mentioned about tap rice. The proposal from UNDP side is that, do you think, for engaging discussion, establish a dialogue process, a formal structure we want to establish? We want to know, again, we cannot go over the entire panel, but we want to, some specific people, if you have ideas about what features we need to have in this platform. If it is a dialogue, how frequently we should have it, like every 2 months or every 1 month, and what kind of stakeholders need to be there in the dialogue process, and what are the key features of this platform, whether it's online, offline, whether we can have a mix of both. So the help of your organization. So we will establish a platform for that dialogue, but we want your advice on what we should look into this platform, what kind of features we need to look into. Over to you, Dr. Ajit.
Can I give some?
Yeah, Dr. Datta. Okay, yeah. Hello. Dr. Datta, your voice is breaking. I'm quickly going over to Professor Ajit. Maybe I think you can, the audio can be fixed. Yeah. Professor Ajit Rangnekar. Yeah.
So is this going to be just a platform for discussion, or is this going to be a platform for people to use? And I'll tell you what it is. So especially in life sciences, okay,
Yes.
if I'm an innovator, I need access to lab equipment. I need access to expertise. Okay, so we tried to create a platform where we brought together all the national research institutions in Hyderabad and said, just put down that on that platform. You know, what do you have? What if I'm an inventor, what can I come to you for help for? Okay, so that's one big thing. If we do, it's the second thing, and I think it was Srikant who mentioned, or one of you mentioned this very, very important point. I think we get too hung up on innovation and too little on learning from others and sharing it. So the platform must have things so that if I think I want to get into this space, I must be very quickly able to see what is already there, because it's not innovation that is important, it's implementation and success and benefit to the community that is the most important. Innovation is only a route.
Right.
So learning from each other, expanding the market, etc., this platform can do is very, very important. The third thing the platform needs is many of these young people have problems and don't know whom to go to, and mentors are all right, but a community of startups themselves to share and to sometimes learn from each other. Sometimes, I'm finding this difficulty, where can I go? So it's a peer group capability, which is very important. And the last, this thing that is to me very, very important in this kind of a platform is that can we celebrate success so that, it becomes a good thing. The moment we all love celebrating, I mean, we all love, the moment 5 or 10, this is the state which is doing, so just like we have ease of doing business, ease of innovation for social business, why not we have something which creates a competition amongst, and that platform will then become the platform to, so we should really make the platform something that has enormous.
Rangnekar has speaking, because it cannot be only a discussion, the platform, we have enough. We now need an action platform, and the challenge is really to make the real stakeholders, the farmers, the artisans to be a part of that innovation. Who will drive the innovations? Not the startups. The government will react to that. Government cannot.
Yeah, so I'll just use the word of because platform by nature is a place to collaborate, right? But I think we need a little bit of focused facilitation, and we can't do it for everything. So we need to pick up, and I'm glad that you already picked up these problem statements or focus areas, and we should drive collaboration. So somebody has to do it. So that maybe play a role UNDP can play. I come to open source our own set of problem statements and innovation. So I'd love to see how we could seamlessly integrate with a platform like yours as well. So
thank you. Thank you, Srikant. I think we want an action-oriented platform. Yes, Dr. Vijayaragam. Yeah.
One other thing, I think I fully agree. What I think Rich is doing needs to be done at completely national level in terms of connecting the critical more than half today in the country. They do generate substantial IP assets, but they don't get deployed. Because the industry doesn't know where it lies, what the uses are. I think making that connect is so critical, because these assets are scarce, and if they remain undeployed, our competitiveness is going to be limited there.
Right. Thank you for that. And we are getting a lot of interesting questions. So in the interest of time, we'll be picking only maximum 2 questions. I'm handing it over to my colleagues, Shweta and Rosita, to post the questions to the panelists, and you're most welcome to respond to those selected questions. Yeah.
Sure. Fully engaged with these discussions and have been asking several questions. We have picked up 2 questions. The first one is, how to incentivize or channelize investments into social ventures that may at times have low economic returns but high social returns.
So it is open to all panelists, whoever want to respond. Dr. Ajit, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
But I think we have got far too hung up on just pure financial returns. And I think we need to change that narrative completely. Today, what happens is we still can, the only thing, we can understand the costs because they are only financial costs. And we are simply unable to understand the returns. So therefore, what do? We compare those financial costs with financial returns. The risk of that is that, and therefore the most needy are going to be left out. So we have to create, all of us together, and I would love to see UNDP lead this globally. How do we create a simple, easy to use measure which says this is the overall return that the society has got? And then we need to go to people, and my favorite this thing, I'm telling people, just give 5% of your money for a fund which will give you a huge societal return and just enough return to give you the money back in real terms, which have a high societal return. We need a number. We need something which says this is the higher.
Thank you.
So,
thank you, Dr. Ajit. Any more response from the panel? Yeah, Hemendra? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just taking on to talk for creating financial returns. Even their incentives, the money they make in the form of carried interest, is it linked to the financial returns, right? I think there are multiple impact funds, and if the investors in those funds can agree on a methodology where your returns are linked to impact returns, right? The wealth that you create not for the fund but for the stakeholders, right? I think that could be really game changer. So we need to work on those mechanisms where investors and fund managers are incentivized to create some real impact on the ground.
Thank you. Thank you, Hemendra. I think we can move on to the next question.
I think Dr. Impact Investment is working on a social stock exchange, idea like which is going on at the university. However, about which it comes probably will the change the directions of the innovations from the the really the field to the
and of course there are a lot of organizations will be interested in this concept to promote it. Over to you, Shweta, for the next question. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a lot to all the panelists for a very, very enriching discussion. So there is one specific question to Ms. Srivalli and other panelists also. So in the morning, Professor Vijay Raghavan spoke about long adoption, not just one or two like standalone solutions, but an entire portfolio of solutions that work intensively to solve for, say, the access to water or mitigation to air pollution. So on a very focused themes. So how can we just promote, we can promote not just one or two, but an entire set of solutions. So how can private investment rethink about its approach on, investing on one or two?
Thanks so much, Shweta.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks so much, Shweta. And I think that's a very, very important point. I think the private sector in India and also elsewhere is actually leading the front on how to deliver innovations at scale to the end users. If we take the example of how small sachets of biscuits or washing powder have been developed, making sure that they are priced rightly and reaching the end consumer in a far off village, we can understand how they are understanding the supply chain, they are understanding the delivery of the innovation to the last mile. It is important that we bank on these capabilities from the private sector whenever an innovation or an ideation is actually the problem that arises because the innovation was supply driven rather than demand driven. And when we look at innovations being supply driven, it is mainly because the idea started as a single point solution. If we realize how internet was actually invented, it was not for what it is serving the purpose now. And I think it is important to really look at innovation from that lens, that how it can not only address a single problem, but it may solve a particular challenge for a particular community in India, but may be a completely different problem solver for some communities in Africa. And I think that kind of a global public good lens, but also with a clear commercial angle, how it can be marketed and how it can reach the end consumer, is something that the private sector can cycle and making sure that these are able to reach the end consumers.
Thank you very much, Dr. Srivalli, for that. I think we have a lot of other questions. What we will do is we'll circulate these questions through email. But if any of you want to add any further comments from your side for the question, please feel free to raise your hand. Else we could summarize and conclude, being with us for the whole session. And I think we draw a lot of inspiration from your presence. To the panelists, we are very thankful to you. It is virtually impossible to cover entire spectrum of what issues you brought to the table. I think it's fantastic. And from UNDP side, we are not going to stop this event. That whatever suggestions you have mentioned during the course of panel discussion will all be incorporated. And especially, we are very thankful to you for adding value to our SDG investors map, especially for those missing areas where we could add more value. For example, livestock. Food and fodder, re-looking at the SDG investor map from a different lens of your organizations, and we will share again the SDG investor map with you so that your comments could be added and fine-tuned from our side. Second is to establish a broader dialogue platform. I think we take the points of Dr. Ajit Ranganekar very seriously, that it is not just a dialogue platform, it has to be an action-oriented platform. So what kind is an excellent initiative to bring in the entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, rural entrepreneurs among, under the government's umbrella. And SDG 17 exactly talks about partnerships. So we will do everything possible from UNDP side to create such a place, at least a bi-monthly, regular intervals we can convene and we can discuss. And the features that we will be adding to the platform is based on your suggestions. It is not just something UNDP driven process. It will be a stakeholder driven process. And we will be more than happy to continuously work on it. We have our colleagues from the Innovative Finance Unit, Mr. Karan, who presented. So they'll be very excited to initiate this dialogue process, which will add value not just to the UNDP's work in post-COVID scenario, but also on bringing the entire Indian innovation ecosystem players together to create this platform, which will go a very long way in serving our innovation community in India. So with this, I really thank all of you for your valuable presence. And we will share the report with you of the panel discussion, so that if any point is left out or if any of your suggestions are left out, please feel free to add and suggest so that we could come up with concrete suggestions and recommendations for not just for an investor map exercise, but also for creating this discussion. Nadia?
I'd just like to very warmly thank all the panelists again for a really, really wonderful and insightful panel. And as Krishna has said, we really look forward to staying in touch with all of you and continuing this dialogue. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, all the panelists, for your time and for making it, and really wonderful discussions we had. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Dr. Krishnan. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a fabulous moderation, I would say.
Thank
you,
Dr. Moderating this session. Well, knowledge drives innovation, innovation drives productivity, productivity drives economic growth. But as Edison put it, the value of an idea lies in the using of it. And UNDP, through its Accelerator Lab, is encouraging and promulgating grassroots innovations, creating an ecosystem for investments in them, and it's all for the betterment of humanity, for accelerating the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. The pandemic has halted the entire world, but remember, every setback is a setup for your comeback. We at UNDP believe in this. And with that, we would like to thank all our Accelerator Lab of India. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Midhu. Thank you. Thank you for all.
Thank you, Krishnan, and all the colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.